All right, let's welcome in Jrue Holiday, my dear friend. Great to see you, as always.
It's good to see you too with that Dallas blue on.
I got the sweet logo.
He's repping the team hard.
So we should just provide a little context on timing of this. We were supposed to record this last week. We'll get into a little bit about why we couldn't. But we're recording this on Tuesday, early evening, about an hour ago. The verdicts came in for the Derek Chauvin trial. Found guilty on all three counts. What's your emotions like right now? What are you feeling?
I don't know why I was surprised that he was found guilty. I guess I just thought that something else was going to happen. Just knowing how this world is sometimes, or how it can be. So I guess I was a little surprised that he was found guilty on all three accounts, which, again, I don't think I told you this, but I watched some of those body cam videos, and I watched them before a game, and I was shook. I was rattled. I'm like, this dude was scared. He was scared for his life right when the cops showed up. And not just him, the other two people that were in the car. Like, everybody was shook. And I'm like, that's the same feeling I get when I get pulled over by cops. It's like, I'm shook. On the outside, I'm sure I'm pretty calm, like collected and all that. But inside, I'm like freaking out. But yeah, today's a good day.
I think there's a general sense of relief that in this case there was accountability.
For sure.
But in the span of when this video came out last May and the uproar that has happened across the country and the protests that we saw all last summer, we've continued to see black people being killed by the police, including Daunte Wright, not too far from where the trial was taking place. Last week, you guys, the reason we couldn't record the podcast, we couldn't record the podcast is because the league didn't want you to fly into Minneapolis that day until later in the day. They wanted to push the flight back. They wanted to see what was going on with the trial. They wanted to see what would happen with these protests about the Daunte Wright killing. And so, I was just listening to Wilbon. He's a wise guy. He's got such great perspective on anything. But, one of the things he brought up was that there's a sense of relief. Maybe he was a little surprised, but his thing is, what's going to change? Is there ever going to be change? And there's people that can talk about these things, and then there's people that are doing these things. And so I kind of wanted to highlight the Jrue and Lauren Holiday Fund. And a lot of people may know this story, but I think it goes, it needs to be repeated as much as possible, because what you guys are doing is amazing. But you donated your entire salary from the bubble, $5 million, that you've committed to giving back to nonprofits, black businesses over the next 3 years. Can you just talk a little bit about what motivated you to do that, and also some of the things that you guys are doing?
What motivated me was, we were going through a pandemic, as well as the George Floyd killing. And it didn't really seem like, at the time, basketball was very important. And for a lot of people, I feel like basketball wasn't very important at that time. So I struggled with going to the bubble. And one of the reasons why I went, or even how I felt comfortable going, is if I could help out other people. And through a pandemic where people are losing jobs, homes, lives, families, I have a job, and a really well-paying job. And my wife are just sitting in the room, and we're going back and forth with ideas of what to do, and reasons why it should even go to the bubble. And she's like, "You should donate your salary." And I'm like, "It's perfect." That and JJ needs to make it to the playoffs. We didn't accomplish that one. We didn't accomplish that one, but
No, we
But
didn't.
but yeah, man, I just felt like people needed help. That's simply put. And I have a job. A lot of people didn't have jobs. I have a lot of money. A lot of people didn't have any money. And this wasn't going to hurt me financially. I'm okay. It just felt like it was the right thing to do. So we ended up putting up $5 million toward Black and brown owned businesses. We had one application process. Was it the beginning of this year or the beginning of this year? And we're gonna have another one within the next couple months. We've also given to, again, the Bucks have done a great job. Even out here, we've given to a couple of businesses in Milwaukee. So right when I got here, the team was like, "Yeah, what can we do to help? How can we find ways?" But it's been really cool. It's hard. Like, it's really hard to know what companies are like, were really in it and they're in it for years, or which ones were trying to start off and really need help. And then other people, I'm saying some of the applications were like, "Hey, Jrue and Lauren, we're just fans. We just want to say hey." Like, like, wait, what? Like, you filled out the whole application. Or matter of fact, you didn't fill out the whole application. You actually went to our website, like, used your time and just wrote, "Hey, we're big fans. Just want to say hello. You could send a jersey or something like that." And I'm like, all right, no. But it's been really cool to learn, just to learn more about businesses and how much you should give to certain people, and even the cities that I've lived in, and how we've kind of impacted our people has been awesome.
We've talked about this with you before, Jrue. We've talked about other people on the show as well. The players of the NBA, but also we want to call out the WNBA as well, have been really, really active in a lot of different ways over the last year plus. What do you want to see, really, from not so much the leagues, but from the players themselves? Like, what do you guys want to see over the next 6 months? To your point, Jrue, in terms of activity, because not everyone's going to give away, millions of dollars. You have a lot more money than even a lot of your peers. But like, what kind of energy in terms of action do you want to sort of see?
Well, that's really it, is action. It doesn't, like you said, it doesn't have to be money. Time is very, very valuable to people. And when you show up and you're there and you're supporting people, people remember that. I mean, any little kid remembers when you go to a basketball camp and you see a professional athlete, or even just somebody that you looked up to. Like, those are things that you hold on to and can mold somebody for life. So it's not just money. I do think that time and really showing up for people is super important. So that's honestly what I'd like to see. And I tell people all the time, like, even my teammates talking about it now, you don't have to give money. Like, yes, we do get paid more than most of America, but that's not what's important. I think that, again, you giving positive energy and you doing your best to help out people. Even, I mean, like I said, labor, helping people, or even just education, the knowledge that you get from the NBA and the businesses that we have 1 million meetings about real estate, finances, technology, so many things. I'm like, there's so much knowledge that we can pass on to other people. That's just as valuable as money.
What I've liked seeing, and I think we're at people use the word inflection point. We're at an inflection point with professional athletes using our celebrity, our voice, to put pressure on institutional accountability. And I think that ultimately is important, whether that's corporations, hell, our league, putting pressure on the owners. That's part of the reason we went to the bubble, is because they set up this huge fund to give back. The example with the MLB moving the All-Star game out of Georgia because of these new restrictive voting laws. So there's that part of accountability, right, is consequences. Derek Chauvin now has consequences for his action. And so if we can help facilitate accountability at institutional levels, then I think that's really where there's some power. I want to go back to just about the fund, and you mentioned not everybody can write a check. You guys did, right? And I think with any person who gives that amount of resources, I would assume it's stressful to figure out how best to use those funds. Because look, you're one of the greatest humans I know. And the fact that your first instinct when we start to go back to the bubble is, I want to help people, right? That's your first instinct. I'm going to help people. But there's got to be some consternation about, how do I do that in the most efficient way possible, really changing people's lives?
Yeah, we so the first round we used this lady, her name is Savitri, and she has this formula for or technology, and she sees, like, when you give these grants or this money, you see how I guess she has this technology that can count or recognize when people flourish. Black lady has her own business. We went black with this. This time we have this lady Alexis that we're still getting to know. I think she worked in the NBA for a little bit, and another lady, I forget her name. Both black, but one has all these resources of how to sustain your business, how to get so crowdfunding. So if the people in your neighborhood, if you raise a certain amount of money, then this company doubles that or matches that. And they have classes on, again, like finances, business, again, how to keep your business going. That to me was so important because, again, I don't want this to be like a one-stop shop. Like, we just give money and then that's it. We never hear from these people. We don't know what happens to them. We actually want them to succeed, and we want to do our best to educate ourselves so that we can educate them on just being able to be the best business or business owners that they can be. So it has been super stressful, especially in the season that we're in, because the season is super stressful. And again, I've watched y'all's podcast a million times, many different ways, and y'all know how stressful and crazy the season is. So that, on top of trying to educate myself and then also trying to do the best for other people, has been stressful in itself. And I have 2 kids, 5 months old. So. No, I mean, I got a family too. Bro.
I know. Well, you got to take care of your own first, always. Take care of yourself, of course. But I love what you and Lauren are doing and helping bring economic empowerment to the Black community. And I think ultimately that's going to be an important force for change in these communities. It's economic empowerment. Like, we need economic empowerment in low-income Black communities.
We do. And again, education and trying to pass on the education, just like you said, is huge.
We're going to transition into some basketball stuff, but this kind of segues into that because you just brought it up, and that's just been the experience this season. And in the last hour, you get emotional when this verdict comes out. You start reflecting, and you think back to last year. You think back to last spring when the pandemic first started. I think you've always had this perspective because, and again, I knew you for, let's say, 6 months prior to the pandemic, but you and I lived together for a brief period of time last summer, and we had a million conversations. I think you've always had the perspective and prioritized basketball in a healthy way. And at times in my life, I haven't been able to do that. It's always taken precedence over other things. And I was reflecting today just about how unimportant basketball has been over the last year. It doesn't mean that I love it any less,
right?
Because I love it,
right?
But the same feeling I have towards it it's been altered a little bit because of everything that has happened. including being away from my family. I mean, look,
Life, yeah.
I have resentment towards the game because of that.
Right.
So I wanted to get your thoughts on just this season and where your thoughts on basketball is in your life. But I also want to hear Tommy's thoughts on just the fan experience this season.
Let's get Drew's thoughts first, then I'll chime in.
My thoughts on the season are, man, I really agree with you. I feel like this is probably the least that I've focused on basketball since I've been in the league, since the pandemic. Man, this is a great question. I've never thought about this. I'm not even gonna lie. Like,
I guess a better way to question it, pre-March 11th,
right,
where basketball was in your pyramid of important things, and then today, how has that changed?
Pre-March 11th, we were on a run, and like I feel like as a team, we were really locked in. I was locked into that. Like I was like, all right, this is it. We're making a push. Yes, our bodies are hurting, but this comes with it. And I feel like basketball was number one. Not, again, my family's always before basketball, but mentally I'm like, all right, if I had a chance to like, my wife needs a little bit more help this morning, or I need to go in and get a little bit more treatment, I'm probably taking the treatment. And I also have a wife who played, so she completely understands. Stuff like that, like where I can kind of be like, all right, I can get a little bit more of this in and then put a little bit more on my wife or on my family. It was definitely like that. And now I'm like, oh man, treatment? No, off day? Huh. I'm here all day. Baby, what you need me to do? I'm at your service. JT, you wanna go to school today? Oh, you don't? Oh, you gonna stay here and play with daddy? Oh, cool. Playing with daddy. All day today. I've had JT and Hendrix all day. And to me, I'm like, that gives me so much joy and not even really thinking about basketball. And we had a tough game last night that we lost. But I'm like, that mentally for me kind of lets go of all the other stuff and then fills me back up to go back and play basketball.
Yes, you need the soul-filling experience this season especially. We always need it, but this season especially.
It's definitely different. And I don't mean to say this because I know you haven't been with your family in a while. But I told JT, I was like, JT, guess who I'm doing a podcast with? Kai Kai's daddy. She's like, Kai Kai? Can I talk to him? I'm like, no, you can't. You can't come in here.
I love it.
You can't talk to him.
This is my question for both of you on this note. And we were talking about this earlier today, and then we talked about it last week. Jrue, with like the schedule is so insane, and it's been talked about a lot recently by different guys around the league, but it's so insane. Like when we had to push this last week, you guys had like 5 games in 6 days on different coasts, and it was a thing where it was like physically, from like we talk about the fan perspective, if a fan just pays attention to the amount of cities that you guys are in and supposed to play a game at the highest level, it doesn't make any sense. And so when you see these national TV games where guys are sitting out, it's because at the end of the day, you have to make sure your body is okay.
Bruh, are you the only person who sees this?
Is like
fans do not see that. I feel like fans, and then even officials. So didn't the Spurs the other day, they got in trouble for sitting some guys, even though they smacked whoever they played. I think it was Phoenix. I'm like, it only makes sense, bro. Like people are hurting. Like people's body. If you want them to play later on in the season, you have to have some give now. You have to. We went from the 28th of March to the 8th of April. The 8th, we played Dallas. The 9th, we played the Hornets. The 10th, we left to Orlando, and then 13th we went to Minnesota, and then the Hawks on a back-to-back. And that's pretty much 18 days. That's 20 days of essentially being away. And you expect us not to sit out a couple games. Like,
I mean, geographically, that travel schedule doesn't even make sense.
It was the worst thing. We went from
going
Florida.
Down, we're going up, we're going down.
Bro, our minds after the Atlanta game, we just sat there and we're like, I'm hurting. Like, everybody's like, I'm hurting, but we got through it. We get to go home now. It's the I don't know. And I asked people, and I told people this before. I was like, man, no, the lockout in 2010 was way harder than this. Like, that was way harder. And now I'm like, I don't know. This might be way worse.
I think this season is worse just because of the added element of testing.
Yeah, a lot of
even like just scheduling this podcast, we had to be like, all right, my testing schedule got changed, so we moved up the pod an hour. I don't even know when your testing schedule is.
Well, I had COVID, remember?
Yeah,
so,
well, I know. Oh, I wanted to ask you about this actually because you were symptomatic. So I talked to Jay Rich and a couple of guys on my team who got COVID on a road trip. So Jay Rich was literally, I think Dorian Finney-Smith and Maxi Kleber too. I think those are the other two guys. Don't quote me on that. But all three of them basically lived in a Denver hotel room in the middle of the season for 10 days. And then they, you get cleared, you test it out, now you got to go play basketball. I wanted to get some perspective on your experience basically living in your basement for 10 days, being symptomatic, and then having to, in the middle of the season, just having to pick right back up and start hooping again.
Yeah. I had, I think, everything you could have. I lost my taste and smell. I had chills. I had like the shakes, fever. I was sweating through stuff, and then I get super cold. This is going to sound really bad, but showers hurt. Like the water hitting, my skin was so sensitive, the water hitting my skin hurt. And I did test every day, but I'm down in the basement and I can just hear my daughter, "Daddy, what are you doing? Daddy, I miss you." And I'm like, man, I can't even, I can look up at her. There's like 12 steps on the basement steps, but like, that's it. Like, I can't even pass back and forth notes because what if it's on my hand and I exchange it that way? And my daughter's still going to school. My wife's bringing me food and she's like double gloved, double mask, sweatsuit head to toe. I'm like, by day 8, I'm like, can you just come sit down next to me? Like, you can be 8 feet, but just come sit next to me because I need some human interaction. Like, I need to talk to somebody or just be next to somebody. And she's like, no. Walks right back upstairs, takes all the clothes off, throws it in the laundry. And every day I had to go test. I had to drive to the facility and test. But one of the best things that we would do, so much snow on the ground, we would take walks like down our street, and I'm on one side and my daughter and my wife are on the other side, freezing cold. But that was like the most interaction that I got.
What was the protocol when you tested out? Did you, how many days were between when you got sort of 2 negative tests in a row or whatever, 10 negative tests, whatever it needed to be, and then you picking up and playing in a game?
So I didn't, it was a whole 2 weeks. It was 14 days that I didn't do anything, like not even going to the facility, anything like that. And then that 15th day, I got to work out. And have you ever gone 2 weeks like without doing anything?
At the very beginning of the off season, maybe, but certainly not in the middle of the season.
And then ramping up in like 4 days. I think I played after 4 or 5 days.
What's wild is if I looked up your splits post-COVID and your numbers are actually better post-COVID. It's pretty wild, actually, because not everybody in the NBA has had this experience when they get COVID. Some guys have taken a little bit of time to sort of figure it out. You actually, I got some numbers for you. As of my notes last week, this may be different, but you're averaging career highs in field goal percentage, 3-point percentage, true shooting percentage. Your scoring and usage are down. Obviously, you're playing on a better team, and you're playing with Giannis and Chris Middleton. But your win shares per 48, career high numbers. Top 5 in the league in steals. You're having one of your best seasons. So,
and one of the craziest times in my life.
That's what I was going to say.
Our life.
How are you doing this? How are you doing this?
I think I have more fun because I don't put so much pressure on myself because of basketball. Like, I guess if that makes sense. It's kind of what we talked about before. Like, basketball is important, but it's not the most important thing right now. So when I approach the game, and even before the game, when I'm talking to myself or I'm praying, I'm like, yes, I want to be the best player on the court. Yes, I want to make all the right decisions. I want my shot to fall, feel good. But I'm like, thank you for blessing me with this game, because it can be taken away. You know what I mean? Like,
yep, totally.
Also, thank you for blessing me with this job, because a lot of people don't have jobs. And this is like a prayer that I do before every game. And it started this year where I started praying for this, because it's just so relevant now. And I feel like when I'm in this type of headspace, I'm like, basketball is important, but other things are important. Fans at games are important. Having people there to support you are so important. And it's like, I guess I kind of take that pressure off myself, because I'm like, well, I'm having fun, we're winning, and like, people are getting to enjoy this too. It's not just me. Like, fans actually get to like talk shit or talk trash or cheer for you, do whatever. And I'm like, I don't know, it just seems like it brings me so much joy that you can kind of sit back or look back and look at like a bigger picture.
I miss having fans like a packed arena. I miss that feeling. And it's so weird now because we went through the bubble and we were playing the season. Sometimes when I watch highlights, I watch a lot of YouTube highlights from like previous years, or like I'll see a clip on Instagram on like the Sports Center feed, on Omar's feed, and I'll be like, why are there people in the stands? Why is there 20,000 people in one place? It's so weird. For most of us, learning a second language in high school or college wasn't exactly a high point in our academic careers. I took 2 years of French in high school, Tommy, 5 years of Spanish, and 2 years of Italian in college, and I have no retention of anything. Now, thanks to Babbel, the #1 selling language learning app, there's an addictively fun and easy way to learn a new language. Whether you'll be traveling abroad, connecting in a deeper way with family, or you just have some free time, Babbel teaches bite-sized language lessons that you'll actually use in the real world.
Babbel's 15-minute lessons make it the perfect way to learn a new language on the go, in your car, by the pool, really just about anywhere you want. Babbel designs their courses with practical, real-world conversations in mind. Things you'll get to use in everyday life. Other language learning apps use AI for their lesson plans, but Babbel lessons were created by over 100 language experts.
Yep, their teaching method has been scientifically proven to be effective. With Babbel, you can choose from 14 different languages, including Spanish, French, Italian, and German. Plus, Babbel's speech recognition technology helps you to improve your pronunciation and accent. So start your new language learning journey today with Babbel. Right now, when you purchase a 3-month Babbel subscription, you'll get an additional 3 months for free. That's 6 months for the price of 3. Just go to Babbel, BABBEL.com, and use promo code JJ. That's Babbel.com, code JJ, BABBEL. You get an extra 3 months free. Babbel, language for life. Look, guys, your mom wiped your butt for years. Trust me, that's not a fun job. As a parent, I know that. So man up this Mother's Day and return the favor with the perfect gift from Hello Tushy, the brand new Hello Tushy 3.0 modern bidet attachment. It's stylish. If a bidet can be stylish, it's stylish. Eco-friendly, easy to install, and will help stop flushing her retirement down the toilet in toilet paper costs. The Hello Tushy 3.0 cleans butts like a champ. But it doesn't stop there. It cleans itself with the Smart Spray automatic self-cleaning nozzle.
When we say anyone can put this shit together, anyone, we mean even your parents. Hello Tushy 3.0 attaches to their existing toilet with no electricity, extra plumbing, or tech support FaceTimes, and cuts toilet paper use by 80%. So the Hello Tushy bidet pays for itself in just a few months.
Plus, every Hello Tushy bidet attachment comes with a 60-day risk-free guarantee and a 12-month warranty. You'd be nuts not to take that deal. Oh, and for the moms who already have a Tushy on their pot, well, blow them away with an upgrade to the new Hello Tushy 3.0. If she's new to the revolution, have her join millions of happy Hello Tushy customers right now for a clean butt with every flush. So give the gift of a clean butt. Go to hellotushy.com/3 to get 10% off plus free shipping. This is a special offer for our listeners at hellotushy.com/3. That's 3 spelled out THREE for 10% off the Hello Tushy 3.0. One last time. That's hellotushy.com/THREE.
I was going to ask you, because we had dinner with Tyrese Halliburton the other night, and we were both, and like JJ was saying to him, like, this is not the NBA. Like, it is the NBA in terms of who you're playing against and everything like that. But this is all the other parts of the league that you are going to experience hopefully next year or whatever it is, like, exist in terms of like the, you know, so like, is there a version of that? I mean, obviously, you know, both in the bubble, but then even now where your preparation is different, you know, where you're like, I'm not coming into, if you're playing like if you're playing the Nets, for example, and it's a big Eastern Conference game, it's you two of the best teams in the East matching up. It's a lot different if you're going into like a packed Barclays Center with those guys ready to go, versus like you're just getting off the bus and you're showing up and you're playing against guys you've known your whole life who are talented or whatever, and maybe it's on national TV, but there's nothing else happening in the arena besides like you guys just playing.
Right. I mean, but a part of it is the energy is different. Like the energy to get up for a game with no fans is hard. Like
so hard.
Bringing your own energy is tough. Like who really wants to practice? It, like in the bubble, it just really seemed like we're a bunch of scrimmages. Like who wants to scrimmage all damn day? I don't. So having those fans and you feeling like it's like you and your team against the world, I get up for that. I like that feeling. But you're right. With that does come a lot more pressure. The energy is different. You miss a shot or a free throw, the down is a lot lower. The low could be a lot lower. But there are times though, even without fans, it's just kind of like sometimes you're in your head so much, it's so quiet, like you miss a shot and you hear the other team talking. It's like I'm like, what did I do to you? I missed the free throw. It's a part of the game, but it's definitely different. It's different.
The lows are always low. I feel like the highs this year are not as high because of the lack of fans. From a basketball perspective and a fit perspective, is there something with Bud or with Milwaukee, you know, the personnel, whatever it may be, that has allowed you to be so efficient this year? Because look, yes. I believe in the power of prayer, Jrue, and I know you said you're just taking all that pressure off yourself and you're saying good prayers, but there's still something on the court that's working. What is that?
Bud is he's very good with people's bodies. For example, our last game is Memphis before the All-Star break. And I'm like, I probably played 2 or 3 games before this, and I'm still trying to like figure out my way. I was just quarantined for 14 days, and this is like my 3rd or 4th game. And shoot around, the young guys kind of stay a little later and do some stuff. And I'm like, all right, cool. I'm gonna stay later to do some stuff with them, but I'm playing that day. And Bud's like, nope. Walk back, get on the bus. Like, you got a game tonight. I'm like, what? Wait, no. Let me just get up a couple more shots. I shoot a couple more. He's like, Jrue, stop. I'm like, for real, stop. And I'm like, what do you mean stop? Like I just want to let me get a rhythm. Let me feel like I can play again, something. But it's literally been like this all season where your body is most important. And I've never really had a coach like this ever. I mean, we had Gentry, and it was just kind of like we were running all the time. Even in the game, I mean, running all the time. We practice how we play, just taking off. Look, because we used to sub for each other. Like, all right, you go a couple times, and I'm going to go a couple times so we can get a break. But Bud is like, okay, on the clock. If there's 10 minutes on the clock, at 10 minutes, if you didn't get everything you got done, he shuts it down. We go to the next drill. There's no adding 30 seconds or 5 minutes or whatever. Like it's literally like my time is important, but your time is important too. This is our schedule, and we're going to get through it just like how we planned it out. I think I think it blows my mind. Like even think about it. It's masterful. My body feels, and in a time like this where like, again, all that travel, it is so important for you to be able to take care of your body like that.
Yeah. I've heard similar things about Bud. Kyle Korver and Wes Matthews, we chatted for a bit after one of the games we played against the Bucks last year. And, Wes, it was his first year with Bud, and Kyle obviously had been with him in Atlanta.
Is that when you went off? That's when you went off in the locker room. It is. I remember that.
Wait.
Sorry, different story for different time.
No, we can tell that story. We can tell that story. That's actually we recently played in Milwaukee right before. Yeah, it was right before the trade deadline or the All-Star break. We played in Milwaukee, and we walked in the locker room, and like I can't remember who it was. It was B.I., Zoe, Jackson. They were like, "This is the scene of the crime. This is where it all went down." JJ went ballistic. What happened?
But JJ walked up to me and he was like, watch this. Watch this. Walks in, throwing shit, throws a water bottle, and just goes off on us. And I'm like, yes.
What point of the season was this?
It was in the middle of our 13-game losing streak.
Right in the middle.
We was getting our ass whooped too. They were going crazy.
It was a national TV game. We got blitzed from the beginning. It was like 34-11. We were down 20 or something at halftime. I was just trying to provide some life, and I aimed the water. I threw 2 water bottles, and I aimed the water bottles where I didn't see a name plaque. You know what I mean? But everybody puts their clothes in the locker next to where their name plaque is, because generally your jersey, your practice uniform, whatever, all that stuff's hanging in that locker. So I think Nikhil's fit that day was a victim. Yeah. Somebody's outfit was ruined.
He ruined somebody's fit for sure. For sure.
Taking the pressure off. You play with AD obviously in New Orleans for 6 years, but being out there with Giannis, who's back-to-back MVPs, one of the top 5 players in the game, does that help take off a little bit of pressure on you, where you feel like you can just go to your strengths?
Playing with not only Giannis, but Chris, yes. I think that we have a good chemistry. And I had to figure it out. I think that's one of the reasons, too, why in the beginning it started off so slow. But I had to figure out the dynamic between Chris and Giannis, and they've been together for, 8 years. And really just where I fit in. And we kind of put in this new system where, like for me, I was in the dunker quite a bit in the beginning, and Giannis would bring up the ball. But even like the shots taken, Bud's telling me he wants me to get downhill, but Giannis is always downhill. That's one thing I feel like is the difference between him and Anthony. Giannis puts pressure on people at the rim. Like either I'm going to get the charge or you're going to get the foul. And most of the time I'm Giannis Antetokounmpo. I'm MVP and Defensive Player of the Year. You're going to get the foul. Anthony can go for 50 by shooting all mid-range. You know what I mean? Offensive rebounds and stuff. So the way that Giannis works is like a battery pack. He just never stops coming at you. And for somebody to see that night after night after night, it really sucks. So I enjoy being on the side. I really do. And then Chris, I think, is a better playmaker than I thought he was before. I thought before he was just a scorer, which he gets buckets, but he makes the right reads and stuff too. So being able to play off them has made the game a lot easier. And I'm not gonna lie, fun to play. There was a struggle there where I'm like, all right, I feel like I'm just kind of running up and down and I'm running to the dunker. But now we're in this groove where it's I feel like they trust me, especially Giannis. Chris, I think from the beginning, he knew, but Giannis had to trust me. We had to fill each other out a little bit.
Jrue, granted, you're in the NBA, so you're dealing with the best athletes on the planet. But have you had any moments with Giannis where you're like, what the fuck?
Oh, all the time. All the time. All the time. I mean, there's been games where he takes one dribble from half court and then just dunks the ball. Damn near from the free throw line. And I'm like, and you know he has that long step and that gather step, and it kind of looks like a travel and whatever it is. But even with the travel, I wouldn't be able to do that. And I think I'm a pretty good athlete. This dude he really should be like in Space Jam. He really should. Where like your arm just stretches and your legs are like, it's some of the craziest stuff I've ever seen. One of the things that I love about Giannis though is that he really wants to be the best. So him taking fadeaways or turnarounds, 15-foot jump shots, like one dribble pull-ups, like he really practices that every day, like faithfully every day. And I tried to get JJ to Milwaukee so that maybe he could help us with that. Just make it a little bit more consistent, but or even just give him some confidence in it, because I feel like that's probably the biggest thing for him is confidently like shooting that shot and doing it the same way every time. But he his work ethic, he really wants to be the best player in the world.
The one that's like the gather, we'll call it 3 steps. The gather step. People don't. I get into arguments on social media all the time with people when they'll put up a Harden highlight or a Giannis highlight, and the comments will all be travel, and I'm like, it's a gather step. We literally have meetings about this every year with the referees. They show us on film what a gather step is. The 1-2 step, your 2 steps don't start till after the gather step. So it's not a travel. By definition, it is not a travel. So if you tell me that it's still a travel, you're fucking wrong. By definition, it's not a travel. But the one that gets me with him, like that stuff's great out in the open floor, is when he's underneath the basket and he'll be like doing a Euro off of 1 foot, going the opposite way from the rim, or like he'll be matched up against another 280-pound physical specimen and he'll just dunk the ball one-handed. Like the body contortion and balance and strength, that's what I've really never seen. It's when, like when he's that close. Kong. Yes, that's a good way to put it. It's a good way
like
to put
Godzilla versus. It's like, no, it's really crazy because when you see him when he first came into the league, how skinny he was, and then if you see him now, his shoulders are like they just never stop, and then his arm, like the length of his arms, never stop. He doesn't back down from anybody. And one person, and you know how I lift. I like to lift. That dude likes to lift. He's like he's in the weight room all the time. He's like, in his legs, they're not strong enough. We got to go more. I'm like, wait, what? We're 3 months in the season. What are you talking about? No, we're just maintaining now. Like, we're not trying to add strength. He wants that contact and like invites that contact. And then for him to be able to do that as fast as you can, and then not really be able to guess which Euro, like when he Euros, which way he's going to go. It's insane. This fool he's a freak.
Do you guys have a level of like confidence / cockiness going in, knowing the fact that between you, him, obviously mentioned defensive player of the year, and Chris, who like D's up every night, you got 3 of the and obviously the role players are great defensively as well, but you're starting every game with 3 of the best defensive players in the league on one team, which is not, even the other best teams in the league can't necessarily say that.
Very confident. Very confident that every game I feel like we should win and we'll have a good chance of winning. In the beginning, too, we were blowing people out. I'm like, I've never done this before. I'm playing 25 minutes and sitting out the whole 4. Like I've never done this before. And then somebody who I think is a sleeper to me is Brook Lopez. Like, I think people forgot that he was an all-star back in the day.
He's still the Nets' all-time leading scorer in franchise history.
That is crazy. Brook decides to shoot threes, but he can still post up. And defensively, like everything at the rim, like going in there and trying to score on him is difficult. He's still 7 feet. He's still this big, massive dude. It's not like it's easy. So defensively, I'm like, every night, defensively, oh, we're good. We're good. I remember we played against the Lakers. I started on LeBron. Giannis might have started on AD. And I'm like, oh, yeah, we're straight. Like, if we need to switch up or do whatever, like, we really can. And I know these are great players and all that, but, like, confidence-wise, I'm like, oh, we're good. The only team that we haven't played yet is Brooklyn with all three monsters.
Well, they've only had seven
yeah,
games
no one
together.
Has played them with all 3.
They're good with 1 or 2. Still good with 1 or 2. We were accused a bunch last fall when this podcast first launched of being a Miami Heat podcast. I think you could also make the accusation last fall that we were a Jrue Holiday all defensive team podcast. I mean, and you and I, we talked about, I would text you every time we would put something out on the podcast about this. It is wild to me. First of all, playing with you for a season, I always knew you were a good defender, but playing with you for a season and watching you every night, the versatility to start a game, guard Jamal Murray, stay in front of Jamal Murray, and then later on start switching on to Jokic, guarding Jokic. 1 second you're guarding Damian Lillard, then you're guarding Nurkic in the post. Like it is amazing. Like people talk about people that can guard 1 through 5. You maybe are like one of 3 guys that can actually do that really well.
Probably the shortest one too.
That's what I was gonna say. You're the shortest one, and you've only made two all defensive teams, 1 first team, 1 second team. But I think the level of respect from your peers is probably more important to you. I mean, I know I sent you the stuff last fall, and I know
you did.
There's been said by a bunch of guys. It gets said on social media all the time, whether it's Damian Lillard, CJ McCollum, Kevin Durant. Like, to me, you're the best defensive player in the NBA in terms of guarding. In terms of guarding someone one-on-one. Yeah. Now, there's other metrics to sort of look at how, like whether it's Ben Simmons or Joel Embiid, and certainly Giannis in Milwaukee being able to anchor a top 2 or 3 defense. But in terms of guarding one-on-one, you're the best I've seen.
Thanks, man. I really find joy, like somebody just gets in the zone offensively. I feel like being able to take that away from somebody is like, it brings me joy. It really does. Like, I wouldn't even say strike fear, but like for somebody to see in their eyes and you see that look of, oh shit. I love that feeling. And I don't know if it's like a drug or what, but like seeing that in people and people like not wanting to dribble around me, or when the screen's coming, like, no, set the screen so that we get the switch. I'm like, okay, that's respect. I don't need the defensive player or the first team or second team, and it's really only because I know that the best players in the world know my talent, and I'm cool with that.
Well, I remember when we had KD on in the fall in between the seasons, and the thing had just come out like that day or the day before, something like that, and he and JJ were pissed. Like it wasn't even like oh yeah, they probably screwed up. It was like, no, like this is actual bullshit. This list is horrible.
Well, Jrue, you said this to me last summer when the list came out, and you were just like, basically, when you look at that accolade, some of it I think has to do with being on mediocre teams, not bad teams, but just mediocre teams, and so much of analytics now, when we're choosing the defensive teams, are based on what your team's defensive rating are. So it's really hard.
Right.
It's really hard to make one of those 10 spots. Again, there's 10 spots if you're not on a top 5 defense, or at least a top 10 defense. And a lot of times the top 5 defenses, they get 2 guys,
Right.
Because I guarantee you Philly this year, they're getting 2 guys on that list. They're getting Ben and Joel on that list.
The Bucks had 2 the last 2 years, right? They had Giannis and Bled. And Bled was 2. I mean, the Clippers at times, you're like, they might get 3 between Pat, Kawhi, and Paul. And all these teams are, top 5 teams? So, again, I understand the politics of it. I understand that we were, the 10th seed or 9th seed, and defensively we weren't where we were supposed to be. I'm not upset at that.
I know you really well, and I don't think I've really ever asked you this, but are you cool kind of flying under the radar? Obviously, and we're going to get to the contract in a second, bud. We're going to get to the contract in a second. But I feel like to some degree because we all want validation for something that we put as much time in as we do basketball. We want to be validated.
Yeah.
And there's different ways to be validated. I feel like a validation for me is winning. A validation for me is like, what's your contract? A validation is respect from your peers. It's not necessarily fan adoration. Of course, you appreciate fans, but in terms of the fame, the celebrity, even awards, I just don't know that that's important to you. Am I wrong in that?
No, you're spot on. I could give 2 shits about being famous. I feel that when you're famous, life is more stressful outside of basketball, and basketball is already stressful itself. I look at some guys and they can't go to a mall, or they can't go to dinner without being interrupted. And sometimes they can't go anywhere in this country. And then other people in other countries and just want to be normal and like walk around Italy or go to Paris and like just really like immerse yourself in whatever present that you're in. So for me, I'm like, yeah, if I want to go to a mall and walk around, me and my wife and my kids, it's literally like nobody knows who I am. And I'm completely fine with that. Like you said, there are other ways to be validated. Contract, winning. Again, I know a lot of my peers think that I could hoop. And I feel like that's what's more important. They're in the trenches with me. Like, you're in the trenches with me. You know what we do to go to be able to play 82 games plus. What you sacrifice every single day. Not being able to see your family. Going on a freaking 18-day road trip to provide for your family. Like, we go through a lot of shit. And then I want validation from somebody who doesn't know what we go through. Do I really? Because some of them are like, oh, yeah, we love you. And the other ones are like, they'll flip on you in a second. You know what I mean? Like, so many fans are wishy-washy, or, I mean, they just have opinions. And it's like, you're cool. You're cool to your opinion, but I could give 2 shits about your opinion. And it means nothing to me. Like, I honestly don't even want to hear it. I don't want to hear your opinion. I'd rather hear the opinions of the people who go through the trenches with me.
You just got a bag. Very large.
I got a nice one.
A very large bag. And
last one?
I don't think I was the first. Yeah, I'm going to ask you about that, but I don't think I was the first call you made after you and Jason, your agent, requested a trade from the Pelicans and from Griff. But I know you called me that day, which meant a lot to me. And it certainly had some bearing on my outlook for the season, as I discussed on a couple podcasts ago. You're in New Orleans 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
There's reasons why you want to try something different. I'd like for you to get into those reasons. But what was it about Milwaukee? You were there 4 months, and you're willing to basically commit to, because you said on video, I don't know if somebody from the Bucks was like, yo, can you say Bucks for life for social media? Or you said, I'm a Buck for life. But you committed to, basically the rest of your prime in this place that you spent 4 months.
Yeah.
So what brought you that comfort level to do that?
Well, my 7 years in New Orleans they're definitely different. There were some ups and downs, highs and lows. But the reason why I wanted something new is because I wanted to try to win. I feel like every year, actually, I don't feel like, except for last year, every year you've been in the playoffs. Every single year, you've made it to the conference finals. You made it to the second round multiple times.
Finals once. Let's throw that in there.
Against the Lakers. I don't want to bring up old stuff, but yeah, I remember that. Wow, I was a Laker fan at the time. JJ, I might have been in high school. But like, I want to experience that. And the timeline that New Orleans is on isn't on my timeline. I'm 30. I'm about to be 31. They have a lot of young talent there. They really do, but they're young. And similar to what I think you had said on the podcast was, I gave it a chance, and we established this from the beginning. And this is what I wanted to see by the end of the season. Whoop-de-woo. And if we don't meet this, like if we don't make playoffs, if we don't have this team that we feel like, all right, well, we can win within the next couple years, that's not for me. Like I'm old, dude. My 12th year. I'm not as old as you in terms of basketball years, but this is my 12th year. I don't know how much longer I have just to be running around chasing the 8th spot. So that's kind of how that went. And I know your situation was different, but Griff sent me to a contender. And Milwaukee, from the beginning, right when they traded for me, has been like, we want you here. We're for sure, like, pretty much we're gonna have you here. And they've done everything. They've backed up everything that they've talked about. We moved. So after we got traded, we moved a couple weeks because we didn't have that much time. They found us an Airbnb to stay in, like a 5-bedroom Airbnb, because my family was coming out because I just had my son like 3 weeks before that. So we needed help. We had like a night nurse and my parents came. They pretty much like took care of us and made us. For me, the only thing I had to worry about was basketball. I didn't have to worry about my family. And I had never really felt that before. Like, not having to worry about, is my family okay? Are they miserable? Like, what's going on with them? Like, all I had to focus on was basketball. And for the longest time, that had not been the case. So getting here, doing that, and then just like what we talked about earlier with Bud, I'm getting older. I don't want to just be practicing for 3 hours a day. You don't want to do it as a young kid. Why would I want to do it when I'm 30? So Bud's like, nope, we're going to get to the point. This is what I want out of you. I want you to get downhill. You're going to have to shoot threes, and you're going to have to guard the best players. I know what he wants from me. And here's the thing. If I don't do what he wants from me, he gets on me. But literally about the stuff that he expects from me. Nothing more. Nothing less. Like that's it. And I'm like, I've never had this before either. Like when he expected something from me, because again, in the beginning, I was a little slow. And he's like, all right, bro, like, what do we have to do? Because this is what I need from you. And he's literally stuck with me. We'd be in the gym. And again, I'm telling you, 20 minutes a day, vitamins, 20 minutes. And we do the same stuff. This is what I need from you. Bam, bam, bam. And next thing you know, I mean, we're winning games. Like I said, I'm sitting out the whole fourth quarter. the way the chemistry that we have is like, again, it's like a team where I feel like we actually enjoy playing with each other and we're actually winning at a high level. And it's something that I hadn't experienced before. So I'm like, why would I leave this? Yes, I'm in Milwaukee. I've been in some great places with some great food, and I haven't got a chance to experience the food yet. But like New Orleans food, I mean, when we lived together, we were
in the streets.
Awesome. We were in the streets. I mean, and I've been there for 7 years, and you're taking me places that I've never been to.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like the food scene there is crazy, but it's not like that here. So like basketball here, man, I'm telling you, they're committed to winning. And I feel like it's no BS. I didn't get any BS from that. And I appreciate that.
We should note too, when we lived together, that I actually cooked dinner for you a couple times as well.
He did. What was the chicken called?
Spatchcock. A spatchcock chicken. Yep.
Spatchcock.
How long did you guys live? 3 weeks?
Like 2.5. It was like 2.5 weeks. It was like June 27th to whenever we left for the bubble. July.
To like 9th. July.
9th. Yeah, so
JJ's had some eclectic roommates over the last 18 months, I would say.
JJ's the best roommate, though. It's because JJ likes his own space. You know what I mean? He likes his own space, but at the same time, he doesn't just sit there and not talk. And like, he actually has a good balance of, all right, well, we're going to have time together and we're going to have time separate. And I'm like, you can literally come live with me whenever you want to.
Well, I can't wait to come out to the compound in California that you're currently constructing. I mean, now that you got this contract, so last year when I was living with Jrue, Lauren gave me a tour of this compound, and they're like doing some construction work or whatever. So now I'm thinking to myself, like, he just signed this new deal. Like, what is the compound going to look like now? Are there more plans? Are there more plans?
There's no more plans.
Okay.
No, it's good now. Everything is finished. The compound is done.
When you I said this on the podcast, but when you called me after asking to be traded, and you said like, you're like, JJ, I'm getting older, man. I'm getting older. I'm gonna be 31. Like I want to win. It was like a light bulb moment for me. I was like, shit. I'm 36. If Jrue's saying this at 31, like, why am I not making this my number one priority right now? Because you obviously have more years left than me. So
I feel like you've kind of tasted it though. Like you've kind of tasted, like, you know what I mean?
Been close. Well, I would say too. I've been on really good teams, so it's not just winning a championship. I've had the experience of being on really good teams where every night you feel like we're probably going to win. Yeah. You kind of alluded to this, but I feel like when you're on a really good team, you're just asked to do what you're really good at. Like that's your job. You're not asked to do anything that you're not good at. It's like, this is what we expect of you. Go do that at the highest level that you can, because you can. And you go do that. And then DJ blocks shots and grabs 15 rebounds a game. Chris and Blake facilitate out of the pick and roll. Jamal comes off the bench and scores 15. Like, that's his job, So when you're on teams like that, it's a great experience. It's obviously you want to win the championship, but the experience of it, the season of it is fun.
Right. That's cool.
This is the outside perspective question for both of you. Jrue, you mentioned the timeline thing earlier. We've talked about that on the show and in private and everything like that before. Do you think fans, and even like just like we were talking about earlier about just outside observers of all this stuff, do you think that they understand implicitly like what that actually means? Because I think that that's a thing. Taking you guys specifically out of it, I don't think that they get the fact that players are always thinking about this. They don't play forever. They're always and they have a finite time, not obviously just like in a certain amount of shape, and it is a thing in their back of their mind all the time. Like, do you think that is almost like taken for granted a little bit?
We're all not LeBron. I feel like LeBron can literally play until he wants to stop playing, and that could be just God-given genetics, like whatever it is. But other people have other priorities. Yes, we love the game, but like people are starting families. People want to be around their kids when they go to soccer practice or at basketball games or recitals or whatever. And you miss out on a lot of stuff. And you've missed out on a lot of stuff since you were young. Like, it didn't just start when you got to the league. It started AAU. Friends had birthday parties. Cousins had stuff. I mean, people going to Magic Mountain stuff on weekends, but you can't because you got a tournament. You got a tournament in Texas. Like, so I feel like mentally people are different. And sometimes people do put a timeline on winning or on how long they want their career to be. And then you have other people who it's just hard to give up. Which I think that when it's over for me, it'll be hard to an extent, you know, like we've done this for so long. But I feel like when my time comes, I'm also going to be excited for the next chapter. But no, I don't think people really look at us like we're normal people. They're probably like, well, yeah, you know, they just want to. I mean, you play basketball for a living. Why wouldn't you want to do that forever? Well, you travel all the time. It's not like the planes are like, they're cool planes and it's comfortable, but it's like not the best planes. The food on the planes are trash. The hotels you stay in certain places are not the best. And then like some cities, you're like, I'm tired of going here. I don't want to go to the city anymore. It has nothing for me. And then sometimes you're like, bro, I just want to go home.
I think you have, I mean, we both do, but we have the perspective. Like we're obviously really fortunate. I don't want to say lucky, but we're fortunate and blessed to be able to do something that we're really good at, that we like doing and love doing, and we get paid a very nice salary to do that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean we're not human.
Right.
Just because that's the reaction to every time any athlete sort of says, whoa, I'm a human being. It's like, no, you're not. You get paid a lot of money. Shut up and entertain us. And you're like,
right.
Okay.
Right.
But I'm not going to entertain you as well because I'm going to have a human being moment right now.
Right.
And
for sure.
You know, and I think this season is probably, at least for me personally, in my experience, has probably exposed that more than anything, where the disconnect between basketball and my humanity is at its greatest length right now. Like right. I'm fighting it right now.
Right.
And again, I said it earlier. It doesn't mean I don't love the game anymore. I don't love it, but between March 11th and now, like it's just all changed. I think that's a great way to wrap this up.
I have one more question before we wrap up. Completely different topic. I wanted to ask this when we were talking defense. So, two guys specifically that have called you out as the best defensive player in the league. One on this show was Dame. The other one was Steph. I think he did it recently, but I'm sure he said it before. We talked about with Dame. We talked about the hot hand and what happens when he just starts going crazy and nothing, and no one. And Steph does it all. Steph did it last night. He does it all the time. When you're guarding these guys and you see them start doing this, like as the best defensive player in the league, what do you do, if anything, to try to throw them off of that? Or is there nothing you can do?
Everything. I literally try to do everything. I try to, all the tricks. If I try to chase them over so that they're not shooting threes, because if they're knocking down threes, they get into the paint. I'm like, as they're dribbling, I'm grabbing their arm, I'm pushing them, trying to get them off balance. I want them to start to complain and start yelling at the refs. Sometime on contested. So when you're a good defender, you get away with a lot more. You get away with a lot more. And sometimes like you can like on the jump shot and, you have a follow through, you hit them in the hand or the arm and they don't call it. Again, there's like little things that you can do to try to frustrate them. But them two that you just talked about, I think are the toughest to do that. Steph.
He's on a different planet right now.
He's an alien.
I
don't understand. I don't understand. I fouled him on a half court shot when we played him 3 weeks ago, and he still. I'm pretty sure he didn't even look at the rim, and he still almost made it. It hit the back of the rim, and they didn't call the foul. I'm like, what is wrong with you? Like, what do you take? Can I get some of it, please? Because you're insane, dude.
I've said this before. He's tapped into something, some transcendent like level of consciousness or something. There was an article recently. The CIA declassified these documents on this program they were trying to do. It's called astral projection, where you have an intentional out of body experience. And I literally, as I'm reading the article, I'm like, this is Steph on a basketball court,
bro.
Like
oh my God.
he's the things he even tries. The things he even tries. Yeah, like
I'm like, bro, but
wouldn't
here's
even
the thing too.
consider it.
Oh no, but basketball wise, I'm like, he's putting this in the little kids' heads. Like, this is okay to try. No, it's not okay to try. Only he can do this. Only he does this. Nobody else. You're right. Him and Dame though. When Dame gets in that mode where he's just averaging 40 points and it just making it look easy, they're shooting it from 38 feet. And it's not even like, I mean, it's like side steps. It's like sides, like there's shoot like step backs, hand in the face, getting fouled from 38 feet. Look, I don't know. You wouldn't. I feel like you would know better than I would.
I don't have that
when
range.
It comes to shooting and scoring.
I don't have that range though. It's insane. All right, this seems like a good place to wrap up. We went probably a little over time. We appreciate you gave us an hour and 10 minutes, Jrue. We appreciate it, man.
It's all good, man. I love talking to you, man.
Thanks, man.